Alright, let's face this east. First and foremost, I like to give all praises to Yahawah, Bahashim, Yahawashah, Bahashim, Rashah, double honors to the elders, Pastor GMS, well, salute your brothers, especially in this word, and truth is sincerity, defense, Shah, and shalom to you, brothers and sisters, going to trust spirit and Shah, shalom to you too, right? I'm out here to prophesy the downfall of this wicked, destructive kingdom known as Babylon the Great, Sodom and Gomorrah, Egypt, Rome, all those ancient empires controlled by Esau, Edom, so-called white men, the devil that the Bible speaks of, right? I'm out here to guys elect of the nation of Israel, the citizens of the Negro Latinos of America. Those are the true biblical Israelites according to the King James Bible. And they are the only ones, the elect out of the nation of Israel, are the only ones who can come back and serve the Heavenly Father's Son. Right? So, let's see what I got. I got something I want y'all to see. Right? So, let's see what I got, and then we're going to go from there. Right? We constantly give Jacob hope concerning salvation. You know, we constantly give Jacob hope because, you know, we need a constant reminder, you know, that salvation is coming. You know, so check this out.
I just did an interview. I don't want to give it away too much because I don't want people to watch it. With Sergei Kiriganov. He's a very noted Russian thinker, very influential. He wrote a paper a couple years ago where he postulated the notion that the United States would not trade Boston for Poznan. And what he's saying is that Russia needs to preemptively hit Europe with nuclear weapons, because he doesn't believe the United States will sacrifice America for this crazy Europe. Now, he made that back when Biden was president. He made that statement. Today we have Trump, and it's clear. Understand, Scott Bessent has told the Europeans that if Russia attacks a European country, the Article 5 response from the United States will be to sell NATO weapons, but not to get involved militarily. All right? And now we have a situation where Europe is deliberately provoking Russia in contravention of the policy direction desired by the President of the United States. So now, if Europe attacks, if NATO attacks Kaliningrad, the Russians will immediately annihilate Europe. Damn thing the United States will do about it. Because we're not going to sacrifice 150 million Americans for the stupidity of Europe. And people need to stop blaming Russia for this. You know, Russia's the one that actually, you know, they're the only ones out there with an arms control plan. They want to extend New START. The United States isn't responding to that. Russia is willing to sit down and talk about any aspect of anything as long as it's done within a framework that respects the legitimate national security interests of Russia. So people have to start asking us, what are you willing to die for if you're European right now? Because if you allow the insanity of the Poles, of the Balts, of the Germans to manifest itself, because remember, Germany has a brigade right now in Lithuania. It's a joke of a brigade. It can't do anything. But, my God, we have German tanks in Lithuania posturing to fight the Russians. Is this 1943 all over again? You know, yes, it is. But, you know, you had General Donahue talk about, well, we can shut out the lights in Kaliningrad. No, we can't. General Donahue, no, you can't. First of all, I've said this. I said it at the time. I'll say it again. General Donahue, if he's the commander of NATO forces, will be dead within an hour of NATO forces striking Kaliningrad, because the Russians will just simply take out his command and control facility with a nuclear weapon, and he'll be dead. And so will all the nuclear planners, and then shortly thereafter, the political leadership of Europe will be annihilated as well, as Russia will immediately destroy Europe. Not a single major European city will be left standing. Why? Because Europe poses a threat to Russia, an existential threat. And you don't let rabid dogs run free in your cities. I've said this all along. Russia will become the modern-day equivalent of Atticus Finch, and they will pull out the rifle reluctantly, and they will put a bullet through the skull of the rabid dog that is Europe today. I mean, this is harsh talk, but my God, this is what we're talking about. This isn't a joke anymore. This isn't, posturing. Russia's not weak. I mean, you know, Seymour Hersh is a very good friend of mine. I love the man to death, and I have the highest respect for him as a journalist. But he has allowed himself to be hijacked by U.S. sources that just promulgate bullshit, straight up crap. And he's written an article now that, you know, I mean, he does say that in the opinion of U.S. sources. But why give them a platform? Because the impression is that you agree with them. You know, and these sources are the Russian army is in disarray. No, not even close. The Russian army is a fully functioning war machine that has, you know, mastered the art of modern day high intensity conflict. I mean, can you point to, you know, a problem here, a problem there? Of course you can. When you have 710,000 soldiers on the line carrying out, you know, intensive combat, there will be people who don't perform well. There will be people who decide they don't want to be there. There will be this, that, and the other thing. But hell, that happens everywhere. I mean, do we judge the United States military because in 1944 we had American soldiers drop their weapons and desert the battlefield? Does that show that there is a systemic problem in the American military? Or is the American military one of the finest fighting forces ever you know, formed at that time and went on to, you know, defeat Nazi Germany on the Western Front? You know, the Russians right now are pretty damn good at what they do. They're very good at what they do. A military in disarray. What about the Rubicon Center? You know, this is the drone warfare unit that the Ministry of Defense has created, an elite force, and even the Ukrainians are like, we can't touch these guys. They're created to kill Ukrainian drone operators. When the Rubicon shows up, the Ukrainians know they're about to die because that's what happens. The supremacy of drone warfare. This is what, you know, Pete Hegseth and you know, Army Secretary Driscoll, you know, say they want the Americans to be, but the Americans aren't even anywhere close to this. We can't even touch what the Russians are doing right now. You know, then the Russians have consolidated a drone fighting force into a, you know, an unmanned, you know, vehicle. It's a new service. The Ukrainians did it. Ukrainians are pretty damn good too. I mean, in some cases they're probably better in certain tactical applications, but the Russians have caught up and surpassed them, and strategically the Russians are dominating this. A military in disarray doesn't do that. The Russians have the ability, that they're the quickest turnaround in terms of learning the lessons of war. You know, the Russians are rotating their troops out of the front line on a regular basis. That means that the troops are well rested, and when they rotate out, in addition to resting, you know, and re-equipping, they get retrained based upon the most recent doctrinal lessons that are gathered from the battlefield, taken to the Russian staff academies and their other fighting academies, where they train, they come up with doctrine, they update it, bring it back down to the training centers, so you could have done an assault on Pokrovsk, captured the town, the lessons that you learned from that battle are taken up to the General Staff Academy while you're rotated out to get rest and re-equipped. And before you come back in, there will be a training academy that trains you on adapting the lessons that you learned. You go back in and you fight. Nobody in the world can do that. That's not a military in disarray. That's a military that knows what the hell they're doing. And they're pretty damn good. They're not exhausted. Would they like the war to end? Who wouldn't want the war to end? Everybody wants this war to end. But the Russians will not accept the war ending without victory. And victory is defined by, you know, the Russian leadership, who has the full support of the Russian people. Is the Russian economy suffering? Did you watch Vladimir Putin's, you know, 3+ hour question and answer this morning? How many of those questions were about the economy? A whole bunch of them. And was this an economy that's thriving? Or are people calling up saying, hey, there's problems here? There's a taxation burden. There's shortages of fish. I mean, you're going through it. Is the Russian government hiding any of this? No. They actually created a forum for the entire world to watch, where Russia's economic problems are put out there, where they discussed everything, to include the Russian central bank and the role that it plays in handling inflation. And Vladimir Putin is sitting here saying, we have problems. We're adjusting to this. We have to make adjustments here. We have to do that. That's a deficiency here. We're working on this here. You know, he's not, you know, trying to fake people out. But what you're seeing is a nation that is functioning at every level. change. There are problems, or wouldn't have problems. 20 tranches of sanctions put on Russia from Europe, the seizure of $240 billion of their national assets, the United States sanctioning energy, disrupting, how they derive income. Who wouldn't have issues? But Russia, I've been there, and so I'd recommend you go there too and not talk to people in Washington, D.C. who have never been there. It's not a failing society. It's a thriving society.
I wanted y'all to hear that concerning Russia. Hey, the Heavenly Father and His Son is getting them Russians hardened for this great war, man. For this great war, and he's sharpening them, man, real good, man. He's sharpening them Russians real good, man, for this great war, man. Man, I thought that, hearing that, I thought it would be motivational to you brothers out there, you brothers and sisters out there, concerned about when is the destruction gonna come. The Heavenly Father and His Son is hardening them Russians for battle, man, for this great war. And like we always tell you concerning this great judgment, the Heavenly Father and His Son is bound by their prophecies, and prophecy have to play out, right? And that RFID microchip, which is the mark of the beast, right? It has to come and be implemented on the earth to where people are taking it on a mass scale before the great judgment concerning Babylon the Great, right? So that was Scott Ritter talking about how the military of Russia, hey man, is not weak like the world portrays it. And Scott Ritter have been over to Russia, and like he was saying concerning economics. Yeah, Russia got economic problems because they've been sanctioned, and sanctions is a form of war. The world, as we know it today, every country or empire or corporation got economic problems. That's why you got America. They want to go after Denmark, right? Now you say Denmark. Well, America wants to go after Greenland. Matter of fact, let me show y'all something concerning Greenland, and then I'm gonna continue to speak on it. Does Denmark? Let me see. Let me see. How can I say it? I'm trying to think how I can phrase it to where it will come up to where you can understand what I'm about to say. All right. Does Denmark deal with Greenland foreign and domestic policies?
Yes. Denmark manages Greenland's foreign policy, defense, and security. Greenland handles its own domestic affairs, such as health and education. While Denmark provides financial support, there is increasing cooperation, and Greenland's influence in international matters is growing.
So, Denmark deals with Greenland foreign policy and defense. So, Donald Trump want to go after Greenland. So, Donald Trump got to deal with Denmark. Now, I said that to say this. Greenland has resources. That's why Donald Trump want to go go after Venezuela because Venezuela has the most oil. Now I got this chart, right, that I looked up a while ago. I got this chart that I looked up a while ago. Let's see if I can find it. Concerning the oil. Y'all bear with me for a second. See if I can find it here. I screenshotted it. So let's see if I can find it. And I got something else to show y'all concerning, when did I screenshot this? Oh, okay. See, now it's showing you, now what I'm finna show you is the oil reserves in Venezuela, right? And the oil reserves in Saudi Arabia, the oil reserves in Iraq, Kuwait, Iran, the UAE, Russia, Canada, United States. Now you see the amount of oil reserves in you see the amount of oil reserves in Venezuela. So America want to get it, and also they want to get it because another reason why they want to get it is because Israel, them Israelis, don't trust Azerbaijan. Okay, in Azerbaijan, Israel get oil from Azerbaijan, and that's the northern parts of Iran, and Azerbaijan is linked to Turkey. Okay, it's linked to Turkey. So when you understand prophecy in Ezekiel 38, Turkey is going to be with Russia. Okay, so Turkey is going to eventually turn on America, and because Turkey part of NATO, that's the second biggest military in NATO, and Turkey going to eventually turn on America and Israel. So America needs to get that oil from Venezuela in order to continue to supply Israel with oil and America itself with when it goes to war, full-scale war. Now another thing I want to show you concerning Venezuela, right? Concerning these resources. Alright, they're dealing with China. Now, in this screenshot, I'm going to read this to you. It says, China has overtaken the United States as the top trading partner for many South American nations. Okay? It says, that's all I'm going to read, but I'm just showing you, when you look at the red part, that's China. When you look at the blue part, that's United States. So this giving you from 2000, right, to 2023. So this how much China have took over concerning trade in Latin America. So that's another reason why Donald Trump is doing what he's doing in Latin America, because China, concerning the trade, China got a lot of influence down in South America, and also China got a lot of influence in Africa, and Russia got a lot of influence in Africa. So I said all that to say this: these nations are going after resources. That's what they're doing. They're going after resources. Like I said in previous videos, Europe want to go after Russia and get Russian resources. Israel want to go after Iran and get Iran resources, and America want to go after Canada, Greenland, and South America. So with all that said, they really going to be fighting over resources, and also the people are resources too, because they want to chip them. They want to chip the people. So they're banking elite. They all going after resources and control. That's what it's about. And in this great war, the hope for the Negro, Latinos, and Native Americans is that they gonna make it up out of it, because these nations are going to fight over these resources. Okay, that's what they gonna do. The natural resources and the people. That's what they gonna do. They gonna fight over them. They gonna fight over the resources. Okay, but YAHAWASHI is gonna get Israel out of it. So that's our hope, right? But I'm just showing you concerning war that it ain't slowing down. Just because you don't see it on the news or Fox or CNN or mainstream media, just because you don't see it played out unless something major happens, like say for instance like Donald Trump bombing Nigeria and saying it's ISIS, you know, killing Christians. Let's put something put out there like that, then they show it to you. Okay? But we know that that's not the full story. You know, they just tell you what they want you to know. But I'm saying that to say this. Even though you might not see major things going on, there's still things happening behind the scenes that is not being shown to the people to keep them informed, to keep them alert about war in this world that's coming, the great war, which is coming into destruction. But I'm going to start in Jeremiah, right? 29 and let's see what I got here. Let's start in Jeremiah 29 and alright. Well, this is Jeremiah 29 in verse 10, but the key is in verse 11. Now, when you read verse 10, it says this. It says, Jeremiah 29 and 10. For thus saith the Lord, that after 70 years be accomplished at Babylon, I will visit you and perform my good words towards you and causes you to return to this place. Now, according to prophecy in the scriptures, Israel spent 70 years in captivity up under the ancient Babylonians, right? So I just want to toss that out there. And that's a completion of slavery up under the Babylonians, because 7 represent completion, right? And then I'm jumping down to verse 11. It says, now this is key, because there's nothing new up under the sun. We've been in America, you know, for a long time, more than 70 years, but I'm just giving you an example of there's nothing new up under the sun, because the Heavenly Father and Son got a time frame. He had a time frame with the ancient Babylonians, and he got a time frame with the modern day Babylonians, which are the Edomites, and Babylon the Great, which is America, right? This is Jeremiah chapter 29, verse 11. For I know that I know the thoughts that I think towards you, saith the Lord, thoughts of peace and not evil, to give you an expected end. So the Heavenly Father and His Son know the great future that He has for us as a people, okay? He knows that He have a great and an excellent future for us as a people, even though we are in exile, even though we go through anxiety and depression, okay, in this condition, okay, and hoping that the Heavenly Father and His Son deliver us soon. But the Heavenly Father timeline, He got to set up to where prophecies got to be fulfilled. He got an appointed timeline, and He can't go against the timeline that He got set up, right? So I